Black Scully on check. Got a little black tea on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. I'm so excited for today's episode. May is my power month. I know they like to call this time period the off season, but y'all already know we don't really do the off season. We got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited for today's episode. On today's docket, we are going to talk about some quarterbacks that are new faces in new places. And as you can see, if you are seeing this thumbnail, that we're going to be talking about quarterback carousels, how we like the fits. Do we think that this quarterback or said quarterback can deliver in this new system? I know it's weird because you had the early window portal. Probably could have done this episode after the early window portal, but after the late window portal, so much to talk about. Also, Ryan Day believes that there should just be one transfer portal season. And on this show, we've been talking about transfer portal reform an awful lot. So it's interesting to see how he feels about that. And also, we're going to look into some American Athletic Conference football and kind of decide who are the teams to beat in that conference. Governor of college football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the
They have to be better on that side of Alrighty, into the news. So as I told you guys in the opening, Ryan Day wants portal reform, and I honestly can't blame him for wanting portal reform. Ryan Day believes there should be one portal window. It's difficult. These coaches have a really difficult job to coach now. It really is. As you know, your season is coming to an end, and you know, as your season coming to again. And if you're in a bowl game or you're in a college football playoff, you got that to worry about. You got early signing day to worry about. You got players who are letting you know that, hey, I'm going to be entering the portal. You got that to worry about. You have so much to worry about as a head coach. That's why I thought that the GM position would help out a lot, because it'll ease some of the pressure of coaching in college football. I think coaching in college football is more difficult than coaching in pro football. That's just honestly how I feel about it. So Ryan Day believes that there should be a single portal window to ease roster planning challenges. James Franklin also agrees with this. He supports a similar reform. Reform has to happen in college football. It has to happen as it pertains to the transfer portal. It has to happen as it pertains to NIL. We need more structure. Now, who is this governing body so we ensure that we are getting the structure that we need? Who knows? I'm not sure who that governing body should be, but would a one-window portal fix this situation? And I believe they want the late window portal to be that. And when I really think about this, I'm like, this can be good. It could be really good. You know, coaches don't have to worry about, hey, is this person leaving or that person leaving as they're, you know, preparing for playoffs, as they're worried about early signing day. But then the thought in my mind also comes, like, this can be chaos. This could be complete chaos. Like, imagine your team is competing in the spring. You went through all of your circuit training. You went through all of your pre-spring preparation. You get to spring, people are balling out. The intel's going to get out whether they like it or not. I know a lot of schools are going away from having spring games. That's not going to stop the intel from getting out. If you want to find out who's balling in camp, go to 24/7 Sports, go to CFBNation.com, go to On3. You will find out. And if you listen to team-based podcasts, you will find out who's been balling in camp. The information isn't difficult to get. I promise you, with or without a spring game, it's still going to be chaotic. But can you imagine how chaotic a one transfer portal window would be? And how difficult it would be to keep up with? How bad the tampering would be with just imagine, like, you go through spring, you have all the players you think going to be on your team for the spring. Spring window portal hits. And it's how many players will enter the portal during that time because they're unhappy about something. These players are always going to find a way to be unhappy about something because they've been the guy. They've been the guy their entire early childhood. They've been the guy through grade school. They've been the guy in high school. And then when it's time for them to announce where they're committing and signing their national letter of intent, they've been this guy the entire time. And then what happens is they go to this really big program with guys who have been the guy that entire time as well. And a lot of times they go to teams that think, well, I could probably beat out this guy, I could beat out this guy. This guy's been in college for 3 or 4 years. That person already knows what it takes to be elite at this level. It is difficult coaching in college football. These players have a lot of difficult decisions to make. And I'm surprised that we don't see more players going to like top-rated players going to like if playing time is what's most important. I'm surprised we don't see a lot of them go to lower level schools. I think this year in particular, I don't know if it's because I've been paying attention to it more or it's caught my attention or it's been prominent. Like we've seen a lot of people come up from the FCS ranks and not go like you would think the natural jump is like FCS to like G5. You would think that's the natural progression. But some of these guys have balled at the FCS ranks and then you see them making a jump. Not only to Power 4 conferences, but really big schools. Like, we are seeing it. So, I don't know. I think Ryan Day does have a strong enough voice to where, you know, if he says, hey, there should be one portal window, I think people will listen. But I think it can be good. At least you don't have to worry about roster construction as much as you would, you know, for the, you know, after the season ends, doing the circuit training, doing your, you know, pre-spring planning. But can you imagine how chaotic it would be? Like, we had a few UNLV players, like, forego their season and say, hey, I'm entering the transfer portal before, you know, they just left the team. Like, we had a couple of UNLV players did it. They did it for 2 completely different reasons, but I don't know if it was, like, back-to-back weeks, or maybe it was, like, 3 weeks apart. We had players just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to enter the portal. I'm not sure if a one portal window will fix it. And if, let's say one portal window is the best way to go. Like, what does that do? What does that do, like, overall? Like, when do you even have it? Like, I have so many questions. Like, do you have it after the spring season? Do you have it, you know, right before spring camp concludes? And how much time do these guys get to pick somewhere to go? Like, it's crazy. That would be crazy. But what it would eliminate, and y'all know something that I hate an awful lot, is those players who transfer somewhere in the early window portal and then transfer somewhere else again during the late window portal. It would help with that. That would help with that. So I hate that so much. If your coach didn't leave, you should not be allowed to do that. And I've been a huge advocate for that. You should not be able to do that. That isn't right. You shouldn't be able to leave in an early window portal and then say, oh, well, maybe this is not the school for me, and then you leaving in a late window portal. So that's not cool. Let me know down in the comment section how you all feel overall about this. Like, should players be able to do this? I don't know. Would a one window portal truly help? There's one way it could help, and one thing I forgot to mention. There's one way that it could help. It could help with players with concerns about where they're at. They didn't have that season that they expected. They didn't land on the depth chart where they expected. And the only time they really get to play a scout team, where it might help is, you know, after players leave, like what, Ohio State put 14 players in the draft, plus had some UDFAs, where the help is in the spring, if they really put the work in, they can see, oh, I'm much higher on the depth chart than I thought I would be. So it can help mend some of those relationships. Like, I remember after the 2023 season, Travion Henderson, there was a conversation he and Ryan Day needed to have. There was a conversation that he and their running back coach at the time needed to have because his production dropped. Like, part of it was injuries, but Mayan Williams was getting carries. Dallin Hayden was starting to get carries. I'm really surprised Dallin Hayden isn't a star in the sport right now. I'm really surprised at that. So there was just conversations that need to be had, you know, but because of it. But Travion Henderson trusted the process. He stayed with the team. Even when they got a back like Kenshawn Junkins, he still stayed and still was able to be a high draft pick in this past, you know, 2025 NFL draft. So it can help mend some of those broken situations, and some people who are just being emotional in the moment, like looking at the season, looking at the team success, looking at their individual success. Some of that can be mended by staying the course, you know, going to those circuit trainings, all of that pre-spring work, balling out in the spring, you say, hey, I'm really where I need to be. I still think it'll be chaotic in the end because we'll have triple the amount of players we have in this late window portal, maybe quadruple the amount of players we have in this late window portal right now. It's just something to think about. Let's talk a little bit about recruiting before we move into the meat and potatoes of today's segment. You see USC lands 5-star cornerback Ebert Hill, who was the number 2 cornerback in the 2026 class. Lincoln Riley has been cooking. I'm really surprised. Like, what scares me is, and I don't pay a lot of attention to recruiting, I touch on it sometimes. There are people I follow, like my boy Steez, who has a lot of intel with these players, and he does a lot of recruiting graphics for rivals and things of that sort. So I pay attention to it, but because players flip so much, it's like, okay, I'll see who some of the guys are of the class. I'll pay attention to them. But because flipping happens so much and flipping season happens so much, especially during the early window portal, when it looked like this guy was crystal ball to this school, then all of a sudden, like Dylan Raiola, it was a foregone conclusion he was going to Georgia. For at least 9 or 10 months, everybody knew, Dylan Raiola going to Georgia. Dylan Raiola going to Georgia. Dylan Raiola going to Georgia. Flipping season happens. Early signing day, 2023, he decides he's going to Nebraska. Like I say, so that's why I say I pay some attention to recruiting. I like to know who the players to watch for these upcoming classes, but I pay more attention to them as they get into camp, and I hear what they're doing in spring, and then I start to really pay attention to them. But before that, so much flipping happens, I don't really talk about recruiting a lot. We're going to pay some bills. Shout out to everybody who's in here watching this. We will be live today, of course, at 9 a.m. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Wednesday, we'll be going live, I think, at 4 p.m. And the same thing Thursday, but Thursday I may move to 3 p.m. I'll keep y'all posted. Listen, I love what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and pay some bills and take an ad break. We'll be right back. Look at you out here using all these other sports books, and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
BetUS is our proud sponsor. Don't forget, you can get 125% match bonus on your first deposit. So today's Governor Ruling segment, and I love the Governor Ruling segment, is new faces and new places. We are ranking the quarterbacks that have new homes, and I think it's appropriate to do it this time. At this time of the season versus right after early window portal, because you get a view of the whole scope. I think during the early window portal, and this go back to, kudos to Ron, they say, hey, we just need one portal season. This will be easier to do, but with the madness that we just had in this late window portal season, I think it's important that we do this now. So let's talk about the quarterbacks, who I think are going to make instant impacts this year. Some may not make instant impacts this year, but I want to talk about the new quarterbacks that are in new places. And let's get right into it. So John Mateer goes from Washington State to Oklahoma. And I don't know, I feel like Washington State continues to put out high quality quarterbacks, bro. They had Cam Ward. He was there. He balled during his time in Pullman. Then boom, he heads to the 305. He's in MIA. He's the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. John Mateer can definitely have that type of jump. I mean, at Washington State last year, he had 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and his QBR was 70.9. Reunited, and it feels so good. He's reunited with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, who was his offensive coordinator last year. And I can officially say that the air raid is officially back in Norman. Yes, Seth Luttrell is a disciple of the air raid. And although, like I said, he comes from the air raid coaching tree, he didn't really truly run an air raid. Like, he ran an air raid. It was the base of his offense, but he never really wanted to label his offense. He did have veer and shoot concepts, and he liked to run the rock as well. But I think with Ben Arbuckle, they get a true air raid guy. John Mateer does not have to learn a new system. I think we underrate and kind of underwhelm how difficult it is for some of these quarterbacks to have to learn new systems. Like somebody like a Joey Aguilar, who we'll talk about a little bit later in this segment, is going from being at App State, knowing that system 100%, going to UCLA, trying to learn Tino Sinceri's system, and now he's in Knoxville trying to learn Alex Hazel's system. So, I mean, Joey Hazel's system. So that's where we at now. So, yes, John Mateer is in Norman, reunited with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. I think we are going to see fireworks in Norman this year. The only thing that leads hesitation for me, and don't get it twisted, John Mateer can 100% win the Heisman this year. The only thing that leaves me with a little bit of hesitancy is the fact that they have such a tough schedule. I think Oklahoma has the 10th toughest schedule in the nation. The 10th toughest schedule in the nation. So that is difficult. They got a tough schedule. I can't wait for that September 20th game, as you all have heard me say quite a few times. But I like this fit. This fit also scares me. And this is something that, shout out to my boy Nino, he's great at. Like, what was the true reason Ben Arbuckle was brought there? Of course, we're hoping for success. And Brent Venables, I don't know if he's on the hot seat. Maybe. And he's able to, help them be successful this year and Brent Venables keep his job. But if he isn't, I mean, who better than, as an heir apparent, than a Ben Arbuckle? Because, Oklahoma went, hey, let's go with a defensive-minded coach. We'll put him with the right offensive coordinator and like Asaf Latrell, and it should work, but things just haven't worked. And, I think Jeff Lebby was there before that. But, hey, they might just go back to the Lincoln Riley approach and say, hey, we got this offensive wizard. Let's get him a, top-tier defensive coordinator. He can work. All right, up next, Fernando Mendoza. He went from Cal to Indiana. Last year, he had 3,000 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So Mike Shanahan, we talk about Tino Sinceri a lot. Tino Sinceri and Mike Shanahan were the co-coordinators last year at Indiana. We seen what Curtis Rourke was able to do. He was able to deliver, had a high completion percentage, easy throws. It's a really good offense to run. And I'm not a fan of co-coordinators, but for some reason, Indiana's co-coordinators work, because I believe that Mike Shanahan was the overall play caller. Tino Sinceri focused on the pass game exclusively, and I think it just worked well because the roles were assigned, if that makes sense. So I like this fit. I think they, had a similar approach. Let's get a guy similar to Curtis Rourke's skill set and see if he can deliver. I think there's a lot more film on Indiana now, so I think, things won't be as, I shouldn't say easy, because, what they were able to do last year was miraculous, but I think things will be a little bit more difficult for Indiana this year. I think Mendoza should be able to deliver in the system. Overall, I do like the fit. Like I said, we see this every year, but like I say, Mendoza can definitely up those stats from 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year. Carson Beck, Georgia, and I've always looked at this move as like, like it was like immediately after Georgia's exit from the college football playoff, Carson Beck said, I'm headed to the 305. Can he do what Cam Ward did? Now, looking back at it last year, we think that Carson Beck, just because he didn't deliver to our expectations last year, and he had some really bad games. Like the first half of that Bama game was bad. The game against Ole Miss was bad. I believe there was another game that he just had a bad game. But, he did throw for almost 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. It's just that some of those turnovers he had, timely turnovers, really resulted in losses because of those turnovers. I like this fit overall. He's in a really good system. The ACC doesn't get enough credit for their ability to put quarterbacks in the NFL. They still don't get enough credit for it. And they just put the number one player taken in the NFL draft came from the ACC. So I like the fit. The competition is down. Definitely not what the SEC was. So better competition. They still play a pretty tough schedule. But if Carson Beck has his head on straight, he should be able to deliver. I've already put a call out to Mario Cristobal. I've already put a call out to Carson Beck. Hey, man, I need to see y'all deliver this year. I was really disappointed in how Miami season ended last year because they should have been in the ACC championship and arguably probably could have been in the college football playoff as well. Now, there should have been some games that they didn't win, but they was able to win them. But, Fran Brown and Syracuse ruined their party and ruined their chances of going to the ACC championship last year. So Carson Beck overall, I like the fit. If his head on straight, if he comes in here laser focused, he can definitely fight back into that top 3 quarterbacks of the 2026 NFL draft. Don't get it twisted. Coming in number 4 is a fit I like a lot. You guys know I'm a huge fan of really fits. I think Houston just seems to be the right fit for Connor Weigman. Connor Weigman has got a raw deal. He really has got a raw deal. Like, it was heartbreaking watching Texas A&M with the game he got pulled and the game Marcel Reed went in, and it seemed like the team just wanted to play more for Marcel Reed, if that makes sense. You saw like the light switch, the energy switch. It was like everybody was just like so excited, and even though Connor Weigman definitely has dual threat ability as well, it was like everybody was just like so excited to see what this kid can do. I thought there were games last year. I thought Texas A&M could have been in the conference championship last season. I think they kind of hands were forced in going with Marcel Reed, but I think there were a few games that if Connor Weigman was the quarterback, I truly believe that they would have probably been in the SEC championship last year. But didn't have a great year. 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. His QBR was 52.3. But this kid is laser focused. This kid got a chip on his shoulder, and this kid can ball. Don't get it twisted, but he can really play. I'm rooting for Connor Weigman. I love the fit with him in Houston. I'm interested to see what Houston does in the Big 12. Every year in the Big 12, I've said this time and time again, every year in the Big 12 we have a surprise team. Can Houston be that surprise team in the Big 12 this year? So shout out to Connor Weigman. Like, he definitely has the intangibles. He definitely has the physical traits. I'll be interested to see, how things end up for him. Coming up next, the next quarterback we want to talk about is Nico Iamaleava, leaving Tennessee from UCLA. And I know a lot of people kind of made Nico the laughing stock. Oh, like, congratulations, buddy. You played yourself, as we always say on here, because he wanted more money. Seeing what, the type of money some of these other quarterbacks were getting. And, Tennessee said, no, we're not giving you that. So he's going to UCLA. He's back home in sunny California and Los Angeles. Last year, I think Nico underwhelmed, if we're being honest. Stats weren't bad. At the end of the day, he did have his team in a college football playoff, but he threw for 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Did have a 74.5 QBR. I really like him in the Tino Sinceri system. It's spread. I think he'll be naturally more comfortable in spread. I think Tino, we saw what he was able to do with Curtis Rourke last year at Indiana. I think he's going to get Nico comfortable, and I think he's truly going to give him the keys, and he's truly going to trust him. I feel like at times last year, Tennessee said, we have a run game. We have a defense. We're going to play to our strengths. And sometimes in the SEC, that's what it's about. You got to be able to run the rock. You got to be able to play to your strengths, and you got to be able to get stops. But I feel like they didn't fully give him the keys. They didn't fully open up the offense. It almost felt like at times, I ain't gonna say it. I will say it actually. It almost felt like at times it's like, yo, are we calling the best plays for this kid? Like let him cook. I think with Tino Sinceri, he'll cook. UCLA is one of my teams to watch this upcoming year in the Big Ten. One, because it can only get better. Two, they were able to get some pieces via the transfer portal, and I think with Tino being there as their offensive coordinator, I think Deshaun Foster probably has learned a lot from his first years. Even starting with media days last year, I think UCLA can be a bowl eligible team. I think Nico is. I think he'll get those numbers up. I truly do think he'll get those numbers up. Playing in the Big Ten, it's a little bit slower pace in the Big Ten, but I think Tino wants to go fast. We've seen Indiana go fast. We've seen Indiana not only use the length of the field because they took their shots, they also used the width of the field as well. And Nico should be comfortable with playing in a veer and shoot, but Tino doesn't run a veer and shoot. It's more like an up-tempo spread. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. Joey Aguilar, who initially went from App State to UCLA. Deshaun Foster, the day before Nico actually arrived, Nico Iamaleava arrived at UCLA, let his quarterback room know that, hey, Nico is coming here. It's 100%. And then Joey Aguilar, I just feel for Joey Aguilar. I really do. being at App State last year, I feel like the community of Boone and these surrounding areas after Hurricane Helena, it was deeper than football. I think that's why App State didn't have the year that I expected them to have last year. I thought they'll compete with the Boise States of the world for a possible spot in the college football playoff. That didn't happen. Like I said, even before Hurricane Helena, they just weren't playing App State football that I was used to seeing. But, nonetheless, I think last year he threw for 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. 2023 season was definitely better. His QBR was 65.7. I think he is going to end up being a starter at Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee brought him there not to start. It'll be weird seeing him in the veer and shoot offense, but they didn't need Nico to do a lot last year, even though he was able to deliver on the ground and get timely, pickups on first downs. But, Nico only threw for 19 touchdowns, only threw 5 interceptions as well. Joey Aguilar will 1,000% protect the rock. He will definitely protect the rock. I'm just interested to see how things look in Tennessee. Tennessee has always been like one of those teams I've rooted for. Like what they were able to do in the 2022 season, I love. Like Tennessee fan base is crazy. They gotta be up there for craziest fan bases. Like Tennessee is up there. Like I remember when Tennessee by 50 was trending back in 2022. Like the toxicity, how they was going on Nico Iamaleava after he decided he wanted more money. Like their fan base is crazy. But like overall, Joey Aguilar, like they were scrambling to get quarterbacks. They were it was 100% tampering. They were trying to find quarterbacks that were already on rosters. We'll see. The jury's still out. I think Josh Heupel and company have the ability to prove everybody wrong this upcoming season. So if they're able to have success and have success with Joey Aguilar, it says a lot about who they are as a coaching staff, what this system does do, what the Van Shoot system does do. So rooting for Joey Aguilar. It's a weird fit for me, but I'm rooting for him. Maalik Murphy was the head scratching move of the offseason, and I still haven't gotten over it months later. I think he probably thought he'll have more teams wanting him, and he'll probably had more teams wanting him if he left in the late window portal instead of the early window portal. But he did throw for just slightly under 3K yards last year, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I was surprised he didn't stay in Durham, but I can see why. He won a striker when the Ironside had a really good season last year and going elsewhere. I didn't think it'd end up being Oregon State. If I could have threw a dart at the board or just threw out a team, Oregon State wouldn't have been the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 10th, 15th, 4th, 16th school I would expect him wanting to go to. But he had success last year, and I'm hoping he can have success this year. It was, for me, the head-scratching move of the offseason, and right now I still don't have the proper words for it. I just don't. I'm just being completely honest. I don't have the proper words for it. Jackson Arnold goes from Oklahoma to Auburn. Y'all have heard me talk about this September 20th game a great deal on Auburn. And that wide receiver core, one of the best wide receiver cores in the country, comes to Norman. And Jackson Arnold gets to face his old team. I can only imagine the crowd is going to be electric because the fan base in Norman won't disappoint. But Jackson Arnold is going to come there with a business mindset and a business as usual mindset. And he's going to try to make y'all remember. Like Roy Jones always said, y'all must have forgot. Jackson Arnold wants that y'all must have forgot moment. He absolutely wants that y'all must have forgot moment. I think Auburn is a great fit for him. Hugh Freeze. I'm not sure where I'm at with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze strong though for sure, as he's fighting cancer right now. But I think in some aspects they've underwhelmed. There were times last year that Auburn wasn't a disciplined team at all. I think the Auburn versus Arkansas game was the most difficult game I watched all year last season. It was a turnover fest. You get a turnover. You get a turnover. You get a turnover. Like, I think we literally seen like 3 turnovers in like 5 or 6 plays. Like, that's how bad that game was this year. So if they can tidy it up, I really like Jackson Arnold upside. He was definitely dual threat in high school. He could definitely still run the ball now. He did protect the ball last year, only throwing 3 interceptions. But I feel like just the Seth Luttrell's offense wasn't designed for him to cook. I'm happy for him at Auburn. He got weapons on the outside. He definitely going to be able to make plays with his leg. And he definitely, believe in his arm. So This is a kid who I know my boy Boomer, when Oklahoma got him, he was like, I think he's the best quarterback of this 2022 class. So rooting for you, Jackson Arnold. September 20th. I don't know what game I'll be at. I had to talk to my boy Moon or D-Down to see where I'll be at that week, but I don't care where I'm at. I'm watching that game. I'm not missing that game for the world. I think this is an A+ move for Auburn. I really like this move a lot. And shout out to Jackson Arnold. Up next, we're talking about Darian Mensah. Went from Tulane to Duke. I think this is a really good fit for him. I like what Manny Diaz and company is doing. Like I said, when Maalik Murphy left Duke, that was the head-scratching move of the year. I still haven't gotten over it. Truly haven't gotten over it. But last year, 2,723 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions at Tulane last year. Had a QBR of 76.3, which is 19th in the country. I think Manny Diaz is building something special in Duke. I think they want to let the world know that, hey, we don't just play basketball here. We got a good football program as well. So I'm excited for Darian Mensah. Can't wait to see what he ends up doing next year or this upcoming season at Duke. And a move that I absolutely love, and I think a lot of people slept on this move. Chandler Morris from North Texas going to UVA. UVA is building something. Quietly, they're building something. My bet is UVA is bowling this year, and they're not 6-6 bowling either. They're even 7-5, 8-4. They're gonna be one of those good middle class teams in the ACC this upcoming year. But he delivered at North Texas last year. 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I just really like this move for UVA. Like I said, a lot of people slept on it. I think I even slept on it. Another move that I like is Gio Lopez going from South Alabama to UNC. I can't wait to see what he does in Bill Belichick's system. I can't wait for ACC Media Days to get the opportunity to talk to Bill Belichick. It should be exciting. So this is our governor ruling, new faces, new places segment. Let me know how you guys feel about some of these quarterback moves in the quarterback carousel. It happens every year, and I feel like we talk about the coaches carousel so much. And we're going to kind of get into the coaching carousel a little bit tomorrow. I think we're going to talk about coaches on the hot seat, if I remember from my planner. But let's get into our next segment where we go around the nation. And today we're going to talk about AAC post-spring thoughts. And I'm going to give you the 4 teams who I think are the 4 teams to beat in the AAC this upcoming season. So before we get into that, let's talk about the 2024 season in the AAC. Let's talk about like what we thought about it and give teams records. So Army finished 8-0 in the conference, 12-2. They actually won a conference championship last year. Tulane finished 7-1 in the conference, 9-5 overall. Memphis was 6-2 and 11-2 overall. Memphis has lost an awful lot of talent. I think their return on production is somewhere around 39%. It is abysmal. Navy 6-2 in the conference last year, 10-3 overall. If they had a better conference record, we'd have seen Army Navy again, which would have been crazy because it's been like the second time in like 2 weeks. That would have been really crazy. I like this Navy team. We'll talk more about Navy later, but their return in production, I really like them. East Carolina was able to turn around last year after coaching change. 5-3 in the conference, 8-5 overall. I think my first trip last year was to ECU. And I saw ECU take on Norfolk State. They kicked off our tour last year. I don't mind going back. I love that stadium. Love some of the pyrotechnics they got there as well. South Florida really disappointed me last year. 4-4, they went 7-6 overall. UTSA 4-4 in the conference, 7-6 overall. Charlotte was 4-4, 5-7 overall in the conference. North Texas 3-5, 6-7 overall. Rice 3-5, 4-8 overall. Temple has been bad. 2-6, 3-9 overall. UAB 2-6, 3-9 overall. I believe we will be talking about Trent Dilfer tomorrow. Florida Atlantic 1-7. 3-9 overall, and Tulsa 1-7, 3-9 overall. So who are the teams to beat in the AAC this upcoming season? Last year we saw both military academies become darlings of the sport. Like I said earlier, Army 12-2, and they won the conference and won regular season, and they won the conference championship. And Navy had a respectable 10-3 last season. Heading into last season, I had Memphis, Tulane, South Florida as the teams to beat. I was disappointed in the Alex Golish and company. Hey, but I get it. Byron Brown was hurt. They had a tough non-con schedule. They got a tough non-con schedule this year as well. But I believe in that program, and I believe in Alex Golish so much that I still picked them to win it even with a tough non-con schedule. And they got a tough non-con schedule again. So let's get into my top 4 teams. Shout out to everybody who's watching this right now. We are live Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on most weeks at 9 a.m. This week, I'm going live 9 a.m. today, of course, 9 a.m. tomorrow, and on Wednesday we're going live at 4 p.m. Thursday we'll be live at 4 p.m. as well. So it'll be another 4-day week, man. Don't be afraid to comment over on YouTube. We're streaming live right now on my YouTube, Governor of College Football. We're streaming live on the CFB Nation's Twitter. Shout out to the squad, and we also streaming on my Twitter as well at LeverKT. So coming in, my number one spot is South Florida. Surprise, surprise, it's South Florida again. They got 67% return on production, which is the best in the conference. This is year 3 for Alex Golesh. For a lot of coaches, year 3, I'm comfortable. I got the team I want. I'm returning 67% of my players, which is best in the conference. Byron Brown is back, injury-free, and if he can deliver like he did in 2023, AAC lookout. He had 37 total touchdowns back in 2023. He had 3,292 yards, another 800 on the ground. Alex Golesh, fear and shoot offense fit Byron Brown's skill set perfectly. Also, they got running back Cartavius Norton via the portal, by the way, of Charlotte. And with limited carries last year, he still rushed for over 500 yards. I believe he had 7 touchdowns as well. With a stellar passing game and his veer and shoot wide offense, Norton should be able to get a lot of easy yards, as we seen Dylan Sampson do last year in Knoxville. Again this year, USF, a tough non-con schedule. I don't know why they do this to themselves every year, but they want to play the big dogs. They start this season. Listen to this. They start this season. They play Boise State at home, then at Florida and at Miami. That is suicide. That is suicide. Why are they doing this to themselves? That's how they open up this year. I'm going to say it again. Home against Boise State, at Florida, at Miami. That's a rough schedule. It's brutal. At least they get to stay in their state, but that is brutal. If they can come out of that 1-2, look out. If they come out of that 2-1, you really better look out. But this team can compete. We seen them give Alabama all Alabama can handle back in 2023. So if you just giving these games as you looking on the schedule, USF will be a tough out. They'll 100% be a tough out. Overall, I think their schedule is fairly easy. They do avoid Army, they do avoid Tulane, and they avoid ECU. And I think ECU is going to be a really good team this year. I have South Florida going 9-3 overall, and I think they will run the conference. I think they will run the table in the conference. They'll do exactly what Army did last year. That will put them in the AAC championship, and I think they will win the AAC championship. So shout out to South Florida. Shout out to Alex Golesh. Been a fan of his for a very long time now. Coming in at number 2 is Tulane, who has the highest SP Plus ranking out of all the teams in the conference at 50, which is respectable. For a Group of 5 school, 50 is very respectable. When you think about how many Power 4 schools there are, 50 is respectable. And I almost picked them at number 1 because all John Summerall do is win. That's all he does. 32-9 as a head coach. He doesn't get enough credit for the job he did at Troy. Doesn't get enough credit for the job he done his first year there in the Big Easy. I almost picked Tulane at 1, and I believe that Caden Simonza from Ball State, if you all been following me on YouTube for a while, y'all knew I did a Ball State series last year on College Football 25, and Caden Simonza ball. But yeah, in real life, he balled to 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and in this offense, in Joe Craddock's system, I can see Tulane putting up a lot of points. Area concern is the limited experience at wide receiver and what this defense can do. They're going to be able to score. I believe in John Summerall as a head coach, and they can absolutely win the AAC. I just have them coming in at number 2 because of my belief in USF and Alex Golesh. Coming in at 3 would have been Memphis, but Memphis lost so much talent. And when I say so much talent, they lost a lot of talent. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put Navy in front of them. Brian Newberry, Navy's head coach, is cooking. Navy didn't lose a single player in the portal. Also, Brian Newberry didn't even get active in the portal because it's hard to get active in the portal when you're a military school because of contract. And they do have great return production at 63% with a respectable SP Plus ranking of 63. Blake Horvath is back at the helm, and after a stellar 2024 season, he had 13 passing touchdowns. Don't sound like a lot, but when you at these military academies, that's a lot of touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the season while rushing for over 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns on the ground. Fullback Alex Texa is back. 500-yard campaign with 8 touchdowns last season, and slotbacks Brandon Chapman and Eli Heinderich are back as well. Navy has the 99th toughest schedule in the country. That's a pretty easy schedule. Out of 134 teams, you got the 99th toughest. That's pretty respectable. Pretty respectable. Don't be surprised if Navy is making a run for the AAC. Brian Newberry and company can definitely win the AAC this year. I know I said the same about Tulane. I know USF is my pick, but Navy can 100% win the AAC this year. Memphis is at 4. And I was scared because I almost wanted to put ECU here, but I respect everything Memphis did last year. I think they was, 11-2 overall last year. It's just that 39% return in production really scares me. Shout out to these Group of 5 schools. These Group of 5 schools have always showed CFP Nation love, so that's why I always like to talk about the Group of 5 schools. We like to talk them up a lot. Me and my boy, Brown, during the season, we do a lot of, those midweek games. We love midweek games. We do a lot of previews for those games as well, so shout out to him. So that's who I got in my AAC top 4 teams. I got USF coming in at number 1. I got Tulane. All John Summerall do is win, coming in at number 2. Navy at number 3. Brian Newberry is cooking. Watch out. I got Memphis at 4. Would have had Memphis higher if they had higher returning production, but that, like I said, that 39% truly scares me. Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section. As always, this has been a fun episode. I absolutely love going live and talking about this sport that I love so near and dearly. Don't forget, tomorrow we will be live at 9 a.m. again. Tomorrow night we'll also be live on Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday, of course. I think Wednesday, I told you guys already, I'll be live at 4 p.m. I think the evening stream has been lit too, and then Thursday we'll be live at 4 p.m. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, I appreciate each and every one of you. You all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
Great
on
defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the